In a town called York, a 3-year-old girl goes missing after neighbors hear gunshots coming from her house. It is eventually reported on the news that the police are still searching for the girl's parents, who have also gone missing.
The missing 3-year-old girl in York.
2 weeks later, the dead bodies of the girl's parents are found in a lake, but the girl still remains missing. 20 years later, no one still knows the girl's whereabouts, and everyone is left wondering if she could be alive. Elsewhere, a man named Raven arrives at his medical research institute called Raven Health. As he gets to his office, his secretary informs him that he has a guest. Since Raven is expecting someone, he tells his secretary to let the man in.
Send him in.
Shortly after, a bounty hunter named Max enters the office and complains about how Raven's workers were trying to be overly cautious with him. Raven says they have every reason to act like that because of something that happened earlier in the day.
The staff seem a little bit on edge there, Raven.
He eventually tells Max to take a seat, and as he does this, the bounty hunter asks why a wealthy man like Raven needs his services. Raven says he needs Max to locate someone for him, and that he wants the person back unharmed. Max reminds Raven that his services aren't cheap, but the wealthy man mentions that it's not a problem for him because he's well aware of Max's reputation. He adds that he has heard a lot about how Max operates, and that Max's methods are quite brutal. Max doesn't respond to this.
Quite aware of your reputation, Max.
But Raven mentions that the bounty hunter is exactly what he needs for his mission. Max then asks about the person he's supposed to find, and Raven starts by saying that her name is Kyra. He adds that Kyra is one of his mentally disturbed patients who needs special attention due to her abilities. He also mentions that Kyra had incredible psychic skills as a child and that she could move small toys without even touching them. Max looks quite curious about this.
She could move small toys without touching them.
And Raven says he has experimented on Kyra's mind. He adds that Kyra's abilities grew stronger as she got older, but this also made her unstable, and she began to fail her psychic tests on purpose. Raven says they had to take drastic steps by injecting her with drugs that suppressed her mind and made it easier to keep her under control. Unfortunately, these drugs came with side effects, and they affected Kyra's mind.
But she became unstable.
She then began to have terrible visions of death and destruction, which made her believe that the world was coming to an end. Raven says that Kyra's mind is fractured and that she's the most dangerous girl on Earth. He adds that even though they're not related, he sees Kyra as his property and he wants her back already. As he says that Kyra can bring down a plane in a matter of seconds, Max mentions that he now understands why Raven wants her back so soon. After he puts her photo in his pocket,
I think I might have to double my price.
he says that Raven will have to double his price for the job. Raven doesn't seem to have a problem with this, and he mentions that Kyra escaped from his facility with the help of a man named Randall. Raven says he believes Max knows Randall, and he confirms this. He says that Randall was his old mentor, who trained him and a few other assassins till he decided to leave and work for himself. Raven then mentions that Randall recently discovered everything about Kyra and the experiments,
I believe you know him.
Yeah, I know.
which most people would believe to be illegal and a crime against humanity. Max says that Kyra could be anywhere, but Raven mentions that Randall made the mistake of stealing one of his vehicles. He adds that the car is fitted with a GPS tracker and that he'll be able to provide Max with any information he needs regarding Randall's whereabouts. After thinking about this for a while, Max agrees to take the job, and he tells Raven that he needs a Jeep and a van for the mission.
I need 2 vehicles, 1 Jeep and 1 van.
He also mentions that he'll need a group of Raven's best men to work with him to get the job done. He adds that if Kyra is as dangerous as Raven has said she is, then they'll have to be ready for whatever she might throw at them. Raven then says he'll make sure Max gets whatever he wants. As Max is about to leave, Raven says he'll handsomely reward the bounty hunter if he manages to kill Randall on his quest. Max says it's not a problem for him and that he would even do it for free.
I'll gladly do it for free.
Raven finds this funny, and as Max leaves, he sits quietly and thinks about Kyra and her powers. Elsewhere, Kyra appears to be on a train headed to a place called Gretna Green. On the train, Kyra looks worried about what happened at the facility, and she also remembers how Randall helped her escape by telling her what to do through a secret earphone that she found in her room. Just before Kyra got out of the building, she asked why Randall was helping her, and he said that he just needed to get her to safety. He also mentioned that he would be sending Kyra to a friend named John Northwood, who will be able to help her. Kyra seemed worried about this, but Randall told her that everything would be all right.
My name is Randall. I'm here to get you out.
Shortly after, Kyra gets to her destination and walks into the woods close to Gretna Green. Suddenly, she hears a crow cawing, and she suspects that she's likely being followed. After running around for a while, she stops in front of a nearby tree to rest. Almost immediately, she hears the crow cawing again, and as she looks for it, she sees it standing on a signboard showing where Gretna Green is. Kyra looks shocked by this, and she wonders if the crow had only been trying to show her the way to Gretna Green. After the crow flies away, Kyra heads toward Gretna Green and finds the bar that Randall sent her to. When she gets there, she goes to meet the bartender to ask if she knows someone named John Northwood. Interestingly, someone inside the bar hears this and looks confused, but he doesn't say anything. The bartender then tells Kyra that she doesn't know anyone with that name. Kyra looks confused by this, but as she looks around the bar, she sees a strange man heading to the back of the store.
Never heard of him.
Kyra finds this weird and decides to follow him, but when she enters the room, she doesn't see anyone there. Suddenly, the lights start flickering, and the man mysteriously appears behind Kyra. Interestingly, the man happens to be John Northwood, and he asks why Kyra is looking for him. As Kyra mentions that Randall sent her, John looks confused by this, but he still tells her to follow him.
Follow me.
He then takes her to his apartment and apologizes for scaring her earlier. He says that he had to be careful because many people are looking for him for different reasons. After Kyra sits down, John asks how well she knows Randall, but she says that she only just met him for the first time a few hours ago. John doesn't seem bothered by this, and he tells Kyra to tell her story. Kyra says she has never been able to recall her memories well, but that Randall saved her from the facility where she was staying.
Randall helped me escape the hospital.
She adds that even though she had never left the place before, Randall said she would die there if she didn't follow him. She also mentions that nothing makes sense to her anymore because Raven had been taking care of her since she was a child. As she says that there are some dangerous men coming after her, John looks worried and tells her that she's not the first person Randall would send to him. He adds that Randall used to do it whenever he thought someone was in danger.
Whenever he thought it was going to be trouble.
Kyra then asks what he's trying to imply, and John mentions that he's already old.
I'm old.
He says that if Kyra had come to him 10 years ago, he would have helped her. He also mentions that things have changed for him and that he no longer protects people. Kyra then gives John a flash drive and tells him that all the answers he needs are on it. She adds that Randall told her to give it to him so he could take a look. Despite this, John says he's not interested and that he can't be involved in things like that anymore. He says he has someone who might be able to help, but Kyra looks disappointed.
All the answers are on here.
As he then gives her the contact details of another bounty hunter, he tells her to go back to the bar and wait for Randall to show up. Kyra doesn't look happy about this, but she collects the contact details and leaves the room. Almost immediately, John starts rethinking his decision, and he decides to check what's on the flash drive that Kyra left for him. After John checks it, he sees a video recorded by Randall on it. As he plays it, Randall says he expects John to have already met Kyra. He adds that over the past year, he has been trying to infiltrate Raven and his secret organization.
I've been trying to infiltrate a man called Raven.
He also mentions that Raven portrays himself as a private hospital owner, even though it's just a smokescreen to hide his illegal activities. Randall says that for nearly 20 years, Raven performed many unforgivable tests on Kyra to enhance her abilities. Randall also mentions that even though he doesn't know what she's fully capable of, he believes that she needs to be protected.
But I know that she needs to be protected.
He adds that Kyra cannot return to Raven because she'll be killed. He says he knows that he and John didn't part on very good terms, but he just had no one else to turn to. He also says that he wants John to help Kyra start a new life because she hasn't had a great one so far. As John thinks about this, the video continues, and Randall says he's endangering himself by helping Kyra and that he might not be alive for long. He then ends the video by saying that John was his best student and that he's proud of him.
And I'm very proud of you.
After the video ends, John starts wondering if he should help Kyra. Almost immediately, Max arrives at Gretna Green and tells his men to raid the bar to find Kyra. Interestingly, Kyra senses that something is about to happen, but she looks confused because she doesn't know what it could be. Just as the mercenaries enter the bar, John shows up out of nowhere and attacks them while Kyra hides behind the counter. After he kills the men, he tells Kyra to follow him out of the building. When they get outside, they realize that there are still more armed men waiting for them. Almost immediately, Max recognizes John and tells his men to shoot at him. However, John quickly heads back inside with Kyra to take cover. The mercenaries still shoot at the building, and after a while, Max tells John to let Kyra go if he still wants to be alive. Max says that if John doesn't agree to do as he's told, he'll beg for his life just like Randall did a few days ago. John looks shocked when he hears this, and he heads outside to confront the men. They all manage to take cover quickly, and John eventually heads back inside. Max then tells one of his men to go inside to kill John. The men don't seem interested in doing this because they're scared, but one of them eventually decides to go inside. Almost immediately, John hears a gunshot and uses his radio to ask the man who went inside for an update. The man says the target is down and that he's bringing Kyra outside.
Target down.
John looks happy about this, and Kyra comes outside with the masked man. As she follows him to the car, it turns out that John is the one disguised as the mercenary. Max figures this out quite late, and John is able to escape. The other mercenaries try to shoot the car, but Max tells them not to do it because they need Kyra alive. After a while, Kyra tells John that no one is following them. She also thanks him for helping her back at the bar. John says it's nothing, and he asks if she still has the contact details of the person he recommended earlier. Kyra says she does, and John collects it from her. Meanwhile, Max calls Raven to inform him about what happened. Raven looks worried and asks if Max knows John, and he says he does. He adds that they were both colleagues a while ago, and Raven asks if it will be easy to take him out. Max says he's better than John, and that it should be easy for him to get the job done. Raven still sounds unsure about this, but he tells Max to prove that he's as good as they say he is.
Prove to me that you're as good as you say you are.
Elsewhere, John gets to the house of a friend named Billy, but he tells Kyra to wait in the car while he goes to see if anyone is around. When he gets into the house, Billy thinks John is a burglar, and he attacks his friend. He eventually realizes his mistake, and the two friends look happy to see each other. After Kyra comes into the house, Billy asks what a pretty girl like her is doing with someone like John. Before Kyra can say anything, John tells Billy that Randall died a few days ago. Billy looks shocked by this, but Kyra mentions that they need his help. Billy asks what she means, and John says that Kyra is being hunted by Raven and his mercenaries. He adds that he doesn't know what Raven's intentions are, but that Kyra believes they need to head to the north. Kyra then mentions that it's very important to go there before Raven finds her, but John doesn't seem to think that they're being serious. John says they are, but Billy mentions that he can't believe everything they just told him.
What's a gorgeous girl like you doing this fella here?
Kyra says they're being honest, and John also tells his friend that Randall risked his life to save Kyra, and he even died doing it. He adds that Randall wouldn't have done something like that for nothing. As he also says that Raven wants Kyra because of her telekinetic powers, Billy doesn't believe this. He then tells Kyra to prove to him that she has powers by moving him from the chair he's sitting on. Kyra says she can do that, and even though she struggles to do it at first, she manages to get it done.
crap that you two are.
Billy looks shocked by this, and he wonders how Kyra was able to do that. Kyra says she's still learning about her powers, but that it seems she can only use them when she's angry. Billy still seems amazed by this, but John mentions that they really need his help. He adds that they can work together like old times to help Kyra get to safety. However, Billy says he's no longer a bounty hunter because he now has a family. He adds that his family needs him, and he's no longer interested in putting himself in danger. Despite this, he offers to give John and Kyra some guns and other useful things that they might need for their trip to the north. John thanks Billy for this, and his friend tells him to make sure he kills the person who murdered Randall. John says he'll do that.
I will. Don't worry, Billy.
And after he gets everything he needs, he leaves with Kyra. As they get back on the road, John asks Kyra about the building she wants them to find in the north. Kyra says she doesn't know much about it, but that she thinks her visions are trying to tell her something. Shortly after, they get to the north, and Kyra says she's scared because she doesn't know what they're going to find. John doesn't seem worried about this, and he tells Kyra that they'll be ready for whatever is waiting for her. He then gives her a gun, and they begin their search for the building in Kyra's visions. After a while, Kyra identifies the building, and John suggests going to check inside. When they get there, the place looks abandoned, and John asks if Kyra can remember anything. She says she can't, but that she thinks she has been there before. John looks confused by this, and he tells Kyra that the things she has been seeing in her dream might not be what they seem. Kyra says she doesn't understand why she can't remember anything about the building.
I feel like I've been here before.
But John suddenly tells her to stay quiet because he just heard something. As he then tells her to get behind him, Max shows up with his men, and John looks shocked. Max then jokes that he thought finding them would be a lot more difficult, but that it seems John is now rusty. As Max also calls Kyra a sidekick, John says she's more loyal than he is because he was the one who betrayed everything they stood for. He adds that Randall trained them to be the best, but Max still murdered him in cold blood. Max seems pissed by this, and he says that he can kill John if he wants because Raven doesn't need him. As Max calls himself the better bounty hunter, John causes an explosion and escapes with Kyra. Max quickly tells his men to go after them, and as they do this, they manage to shoot John. He gets slightly hurt and falls to the ground, but Kyra quickly comes over to help him. John tells Kyra to leave him and get to safety. She seems more interested in staying back to fight for him. Just as the mercenaries get closer to John, Kyra confronts them with her powers. She manages to overpower most of them, but she eventually gets weak and passes out. After this, the mercenaries capture her, and Max also knocks John out. When he wakes up, he realizes that he's now in Raven's facility. Raven happens to be in front of him, and he says that it's nice to meet the man who has been bothering him. John then asks about Kyra, and Raven says she's now in isolation. He adds that he has read John's file and discovered that Randall took him in as a child when his family died in a house fire. Raven says he also knows that Randall trained John to become a bounty hunter right from when he was young. John doesn't seem interested in hearing all these, but Raven says he believes that there are a couple of things John needs to know before Max kills him. He then starts by saying that Kyra has always been gifted ever since she was young.
Unfortunately, her parents didn't think the same way.
He adds that her parents didn't think the same way, and that forced him to take them out of the picture by killing them in York. He also talks about the tests conducted on Kyra and how her abilities improved. Unfortunately, she eventually became unstable and began to disobey orders. She also grew more powerful the angrier she got, and Raven and his scientists had to use drugs to regain control of her mind. Raven says it worked for a while, but after that, they decided that the best way to keep her mind confused was to use fabricated memories, which would be a series of images repeated on a loop. Raven says they were images she could relate to, and one of them was the structure in the forest. He adds that they knew Kyra would find her way there if she ever escaped, and that's why Max was already there for an extraction. He also mentions that Kyra is a threat to the world, and that he doesn't understand why John has been protecting her. John then says that he had to protect her because she was scared.
Kyra is a threat to the world.
He adds that he'll do anything to keep her safe, but Raven says it's too late because it's time for him to set things right. John asks what he wants to do, and Raven says he'll correct his mistake. Following this, he leaves John in the room and heads to the lab to instruct his scientists to begin the procedure to neutralize Kyra. Just as the procedure begins, Kyra gets uncomfortable and eventually regains her powers. She then destroys the cameras and leaves the lab. Raven cannot believe this, and he tells his men to stop her. Interestingly, none of them seem to be a match for Kyra, and she uses her powers on them before leaving in a car. As Raven returns to his office with Max, John grabs him and threatens to kill him. However, Raven tells John that killing him won't make a difference. He adds that they need to work together to try to stop Kyra before she starts killing people. John then releases Raven, and the wealthy man mentions that the tracker on Kyra's car shows that she's heading to the Scottish border. John looks confused, but Raven says she's likely going somewhere she has been before. John believes it's Gretna Green.
We're following our path on a GPS.
And he tells Raven and Max that they need to get there fast. Almost immediately, Raven, Max, and John leave in a chopper and head to Gretna Green. Just as they arrive, Kyra breaks into a church and turns the people inside into zombies. John walks in right on time and kills one of the zombies that tries to attack him. Billy also happens to be in the church, and he works with John to take down the zombies. The priest and the bagpiper in the church also happen to be bounty hunters, and they shoot down some of the zombies. After a while, John tells Raven that some of the zombies have escaped and are now headed to the town. He adds that Kyra is also missing and that they have to head to the town before things get worse. Raven then tells John to find a car to take him to the town, while he and Max take the chopper. Meanwhile, the zombies start attacking more people in the town, and Max kills one of them from the chopper. Kyra eventually shows up out of nowhere and sees Raven flying the chopper. She then uses her powers to bring it down. Luckily, Raven and Max make it out alive, but they see Kyra staring at them strangely. Max then tells Raven to find somewhere safe to hide while he goes to confront Kyra. Unfortunately, he gets badly hurt during their fight, and he runs away to find a place to hide. He eventually enters a nearby building, and coincidentally, John comes in while looking for the other zombies. Almost immediately, Max attacks him because he believes that they still have a score to settle. John eventually fights back, and the two men continue their fight. After a while, John kills Max and says that it's what he deserves for killing Randall.
That one's for Randall.
Elsewhere, Kyra finds Raven hiding inside a building, and as he sees her, he threatens to shoot her. As he looks scared, Kyra says she thought he wanted her to become powerful, just like she currently is. She also implies that he's not so happy about it because he's scared of her and what she might do to him. Raven doesn't know what to say, but Kyra suddenly knocks down his gun. She then starts torturing him with her powers, but just as she tries to shoot him, John shows up and tells her not to do it. Kyra says she wants to do it because Raven took everything away from her. John says she doesn't have to think about the past anymore and that she can focus on starting a new life. He adds that he can help her and become the father that she never had. As Kyra thinks about this, she drops the gun and goes to hug John. Just then, Raven picks up the gun and shoots her from behind. As she falls to the ground, John quickly holds on to her. Before she grows too weak, she uses her powers to kill Raven. She also tells John that she's sorry, and as he wonders what it's for, she uses her powers to make him unconscious. Shortly after, John wakes up and realizes that Kyra is gone. He then leaves the building and drives to Kyra's old house. When he gets there, he sees her in the backyard and realizes that she's bleeding. He says she'll be okay, but Kyra tells him that if he really cares about her, he would let her go. John looks disappointed by this, but Kyra tells him to stay with her because she doesn't want to be alone. John then holds her tightly until she passes out. After this, he carries her away from the backyard and leaves the house. 6 months later, John continues living a normal life, but he can't seem to forget about Kyra. He then calls Billy and says that he has been thinking about continuing Randall's work because there are people out there who still need to be protected. He adds that he's starting a new league of bounty hunters, and Billy says he'll be ready to help if his friend needs him. After this, John gets a call from someone who asks if he's John Northwood. John asks who is speaking, but the person says it doesn't matter. He adds that he has a client who wants to speak to John. John says he's a bit busy, but that he can give the person someone else's number. The man on the phone insists that he needs to speak to the client first, and John then asks for the client's name. The man says he'll let the client introduce herself, and as he passes the phone, John hears Kyra's voice and looks shocked. As the call ends, he quickly enters his car and smiles as he drives away. After Kyra's powers are discovered as a child, Raven gets her kidnapped because he wants to study her mind and make her stronger for his own use. When she grows older, Randall helps her escape and sends her to meet John in Gretna Green. Despite initially refusing to keep Kyra safe, John eventually changes his mind when he learns about everything she had been through. Unfortunately, Kyra gets caught again, but after she frees herself, she goes rogue and starts turning people into zombies. John manages to get her to stop, but as Raven shoots her, she goes unconscious in John's arms. Years after the shooting, Kyra calls John to tell her where she is, and he immediately sets out to find her because he had thought she was dead.